Hello and welcome back to the Mole Valley Maker channel. Today we're going to be making a pen from a black palm blank. So black palm isn't really a wood, but palm is sometimes turned, and here's a little pen blank. You can see it's the grain is not particularly ordered. It looks more ordered when you look at it from the ends, but I imagine this is a little bit like cutting a large burl blank, that you've got effectively grain running all over the place. Going into this, I'd heard some horror stories about turning black palm or any other palm, because it's basically a plant, and that it tended to fly apart, splinter, and as you're going to see, I didn't find it so bad. I lay this spinning at about 2000 RPM, and I'm using a 19mm or 3/4 inch standard skew, Robert Sorby skew. I partly showed this because there's a lot of wood turners out there that don't like the skew. Certainly the amateur ones I send to talk to, chat with on various turners lives on YouTube, and I thought this is a really good example of how you can use a skew and practice cutting with the skew with very little danger of a catch, because the skew is 19mm wide and the pen blank is probably starts off at around 20mm wide. There really isn't much chance, if you're careful and keep an eye on where you're cutting, of either the toe or the hill catching. It's also probably the tool that's most likely to give a good finish, because it's basically a knife edge. And I did sharpen this skew twice during this turning. You can see from the video that the black palm is basically turning to dust. See, the tool rest is covered in dust. I'm just pointing out there's still quite a few flats on the blank. I don't think I've done a pen turning video before. This is using an Axminster Evolution pen mandrel. And the two bits of metal either side of the blank are sized for the pen kit and the brass tube that's in the centre. So each pen kit you have a specific set of ferrules that push in, bushings that push into the end, and you turn the ends down until they are flush with those bushings, because those bushings are the same diameter as the hardware that goes into the pen kit. So this is for Taylors Mirfield Athena click pen. I forget exactly what size the drill bit is that's required, and I didn't show any of that. Basically the process started by putting that blank into a set of pen jaws, and then putting the appropriate drill bit into a Jacob's chuck, drilling down the centre, and then gluing in a brass tube that comes with the kit into the centre of that blank. I'm just pointing out there's a little bit of breakout in the centre. You see where some of the strands, I guess, of the fibres maybe of the palm have broken away. I think this could have been a lot worse if it wasn't for a reasonably sharp skew. I'm not saying it's razor sharp, but it was sharpened twice. I could have honed it in between on a diamond file, but I chose to go straight to the sharpener instead. I'm sure many of you have seen pens be turned before, and I think the danger with a lot of pen turning is you tend to leave the middle quite bulbous. Even this one, which I've tried to tone down a little bit, I think looking at the pen and the lines of the pen right at the end could have been maybe 1/2 millimetre narrower in the at its thickest part. And this is the final kind of cuts here. I'm just trying to smooth out some of the breakout. And a little bit of sanding. And I've just left this in because I'm working my way through the grits, and in between, after each grit, I'm going up and down the blank with the grain. And I think this was sanded at 150, 240, 320 and 400. Cleaning it off with a little bit of methylated spirits or denatured alcohol if you're in the US, and applying a little bit of cellulose sanding sealer. The overall feel of the blanket now is one of a very smooth feel, but you can see there are still some voids. I think I gave that 2 or 3 coats, then I've hit it with a gold Webrex pad, which I think is roughly equivalent to 1000 grit, and I'm just trying to clean that up a little bit. I think I just use a little bit more methylated spirits on there, and then I'm applying some Yorkshire grit microfine. I think I did standard Yorkshire grit as well, but possibly didn't record that. And here I am just going backwards and forwards, working the microfine in. And then after the microfine, again, important to polish with the grain to try and get as much out of the grain as possible. I use a little microcrystalline wax just to give it a little bit of a shiny finish. You see that one pass, the shine starts to appear. The one thing about Hampshire Sheen waxes is if you don't get the wax all buffed out, it can dry white, which is a little bit of a problem when you've got sort of open grain pockets, as you have with something like this black palm. And here's my very sophisticated pen can't think what the correct word is, but basically I'm using the headstock with a piece of wood pushed up against the headstock and the tailstock to push the pen together. A very simple kit. You've literally got the screw thread for the end, and then the whole click mechanism is one piece. And so what you do is you put the spring over the standard, it's a what I call a standard Parker refill. I think this is called a Parker G2 refill. Spring over that, put it into the end, and then if you get the pen lined up with the mechanism, you screw it all together, and there you've got a working click pen. I'd just like to thank you for watching. If you like the content, I'm sure you know what to do. I'm not going to say it, but I'm sure you know what to do. And here's some final stills. Just like to thanks very much for watching, and I'll catch you next time.